And I am live. Okay, good. I was in the wrong webinar for about 2 minutes. Sorry about that. I need to redo this. Hang on 1 second. So while I'm doing this, I'm going to let you know that I am Kathleen Jasper, and we are doing the Foundations of Reading exam right now. And we are live on YouTube, and we're about to be live on Facebook, but I'm doing this while I'm talking to you. I'm so sorry. I had logged into the wrong webinar and started talking to absolutely no one. And I was like, why is nobody in there? So I want to make sure you're all here. Let me know that you can hear me and see me okay. It says my microphone is on, so hopefully that's good. And I'm just trying to go live on all my other places right now. So just give me 1 second and then I'll be ready. Sometimes these things happen and, we have to adapt. Okay, we're here. Looks like we're good. All right, so we are doing the Foundations of Reading test today. And for this exam, we are going to be going over both the Foundations of Reading exam and the teaching reading exam. So let me just make sure. Let's just go here. Sorry, one more thing I have to do. Foundations of Reading exam and teaching reading. Okay. Praxis. I got to go live in both places, and I was in the wrong webinar. And so we are just behind a little bit, but we're good. Let me know in the chat that you can hear me okay and see me. We've got the chat turned on. And again, I'm sorry for the any issues with this sort of thing. Okay, let's go here. We're going to grab this and just throw this into Facebook. Okay, we're good now. Sorry about that, guys. And we should be live everywhere. All right. So again, I am Kathleen Jasper. We are doing the Foundations of Reading test. Good morning. And the teaching reading. We are working in these two books. So this is my latest and greatest, The Foundations of Reading. Many of you have wanted me to do this particular book, and so I did it. We also have an online course, and that's what we're going to be doing today. And then, of course, the Praxis teaching reading, the old faithful that many of you have been using to pass the Foundations of Reading. And now I have an actual book for the Foundations of Reading. The thing is, they're both very similar exams. Now, if you've already purchased this book, you're fine. If you want to purchase another one, you can, but just follow the webinar and just see. I don't think you need to purchase both books. I'm always trying to save you guys money, but this book is amazing. This is my best one yet. Every time I publish a book, it gets better and better. And, I've just learned so much from the feedback, from everything that I've learned from you guys. So that's what we're talking about with this webinar today. If you are in the chat in the actual webinar, you know that we have some offer codes for you, and you also got a free study guide with this webinar. So if you want to get the free study guide and you're watching me on social, there's a link in the description. And let me just check on YouTube if we are good with that. Yes. Let me see. Edit video. We should be good. There should be a description. I will make sure that the description is in the YouTube video as soon as you get it. But I just want to make sure that you can go to the link in the description, fill out the form, and get the free study guide for this webinar. I also have a colleague in the chat. His name is Gilson. He is labeled as a host. And if I don't get to your question because I'm sharing screen and I'm doing different things, he can answer your questions. And he is also going to be giving you an offer code in there to buy any products that you might have. So let's go over what came with this webinar so you know what's going on. Also, listen, you don't have to print anything out. I'm going to project everything on the screen. So if you're like, oh, I didn't get a chance to get the study guide printed, don't worry. You can do it later. I'm going to show you everything on the screen. Okay. Everybody in the chat is looking like you can hear me. We've got Baltimore, Maryland, Louisiana. Let me know in the chat where you're from. And if you're here for Foundations of Reading or teaching reading, you can just say Fort for the Foundations of Reading and Praxis if you're here for the teaching reading. Just lets me know which one you guys are doing. And remember, both of these tests are very similar. Like, I'm going to show you the specs and how they work. So you can see that they're both very similar. Ohio, Indiana. Gilson just shared the offer code for our products. You can put that in there. Alabama, Foundations of Reading. Tennessee, Praxis. Ooh, you guys are okay. Wisconsin, Foundations. Utah, both. Hillary, you have to take both tests. That's crazy. That's overkill. Sorry, I said it. I don't care. All right. So brand new book, Foundations of Reading. Let's go over to the free study guide that you got with this so I can just show you what you're getting with this webinar. And if you're watching me on social, you, why am I not seeing what you guys are seeing? Okay, I'm on the wrong thing here. Okay, well, I can see that this is popping up here, but it's not popping up on my thing. Let's just go one more time. Oh, there we go. Where is it? I don't know where it is. Well, that's interesting. I can't find my document. Give me one more second. Sorry. We are live and the stuff is kind of messing up for me here. Let me just go here. What is this doing? I don't see it. Oh, it was behind it. That's why. Okay, one more time, guys. Here we go. So sorry. I love it when things are messed up live. Okay. Good morning. Just to make sure, will this webinar be useful for Praxis Core? No, this is not Praxis Core. This is for the Foundations of Reading and the Teaching Reading, a different test, but definitely helpful. All right, so here is the free study guide that you got. This is the Foundations of Reading practice test. I recommend you download them both because they have different questions. So if you're taking the Praxis Teaching Reading, download the Fort. And if you're taking the Fort, download the Teaching Reading, because then you get some extra questions here. You can see that we have questions and then very detailed answer explanations. The same with the Teaching Reading one, practice test questions, very detailed answer explanations. Listen, these answer explanations are very important because I tell you why things are incorrect. And that's very, very important. Okay. Now, beyond that, we have full study guide, much bigger. So this is the full study guide for the Foundations of Reading. You can see that it's very big. It's got tabs. There's over 250 questions here and a full comprehensive open response section. We're going to do some of that today, but I just want to show you the difference. And I'm going to show you the categories on the exam, on both exams. So this is the full study guide for the Foundations of Reading. You can see it's over 320 pages. And then this is the full study guide for the teaching reading. Now, I want you to pay attention to the categories. This is very important when you're taking an exam. You have to understand the structure of the test. And both of these are very similar because they are testing your ability to be a reading teacher. So notice that the beginning on both of these, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit just so you can see more. Okay. So Foundations of Reading, you've got phonological and phonemic awareness. You've got phonics. Okay. Then you have this for Foundations of Reading segments out morphology. So it's word analysis. And then you have fluency. Let's hop over to Teaching Reading. Same thing, phonological and phonemic awareness. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see. Phonics and decoding, and vocabulary and fluency. Then when we get into the advanced, now we're into vocabulary and comprehension. Notice here for Teaching Reading, they kind of smush vocabulary and fluency together. And then we have comprehension of literary and informational text. And notice here for comprehension, we have comprehension of literary text and comprehension of informational text. Then we have reading assessment, which is very important. And we have that also in the Teaching Reading assessment, because good reading teachers know how to assess reading. And so you are going to have assessment questions there. Of course, I have a good words list in my study guides, because notice here, good words list. I'll just show you a little bit of that. These are all the words you're going to see in the correct answer choices. These are words taken directly from the test specifications and the standards. And so when you see these words in answer choices, you're going to want to pay attention and really zero in on them. And so we have those in our books, and I have one for this as well. Now, on the Teaching Reading, it's called a constructed response. On the, sorry, let me go here. I don't want to make you guys dizzy on this. On the foundations of reading, it's called open response, but it's very, very similar. And we are going to work on one of those today. Okay. So you have constructed response for Praxis. It's called open response for foundations of reading. You can see in my new foundations of reading book, I've got this little guy. It's called Think Like a Test Maker. Anytime you see this little guy here, this is a trick. This is something to think about. Think like a test maker, not a test taker. And I'm going to talk about that a lot today as we get into the practice test questions. So these are the full study guides that I'm showing you, these big study guides, and they are available on our website and on Amazon. We have links in the chat, and Gilson just put in the offer code for you guys that are in the webinar. If you want the offer code, go ahead and sign up for the webinar. You'll be sent everything. Also, at the end of this webinar, you are going to get a very detailed email that gives you everything that I talk about today and any resources that I mention. Okay. So very quickly, let me stop sharing here. I'm going to go in and see if anybody has any questions. I go to an online college in Utah, but I live in Texas. Okay. So you have to take the Utah exams, Virginia, Praxis, Tennessee, teaching reading, Massachusetts. You're taking the MTEL. Yes, Jeff, Foundations of Reading. Okay, great. So we've got a mix of all people. And that is wonderful because I want to help as many people as I can. Really quickly, I want to show you one more thing where you can get our resources at KathleenJasper.com here. If you go under our programs, here's the Foundations of Reading, and here's the Teaching Reading. And you can see even the teaching reading has expanded a lot over different states. The 7002 is actually the teaching reading now if you're taking an elementary ed. But some of you are just taking this particular exam. And then, of course, the foundations of reading here. These are brand new. Everything on our website will be discounted to you if you're in the webinar, 20% off. However, let me just go here. If you decide you want the physical book from Amazon, let me show you here. This will come to you in a couple of days. But I cannot discount Amazon books because they're the publisher and I have to unpublish it and republish it and it doesn't work. So, and then also if you buy our books on Amazon, this is not an option because this one's brand new, but try not to buy the used versions because they'll have writing in them. And sometimes we get emails from people saying, I bought a book from Amazon, it had writing in it. And I'm like, well, it's used. I can't, you bought it used. So just spend the extra couple of bucks and get the regular copy, and it comes Amazon Prime straight to your door. But again, physical copies I can't discount. However, if you buy from our website, it's a digital download. It comes in a PDF, just like I showed you on my screen, and you can download that, save that to your computer, whatever. And then beyond that, we have an online course as well. And I'm just going to show you what our online courses look like very quickly, and then we will get started in the actual presentation. Let me just show you really quickly. So this is what our online courses look like. This is for the Foundations of Reading. You can see it's extremely comprehensive. This is the open response section here. And I have videos for every single section. Then I have the quizzes for each section so you can see what each, quiz looks like. And they have, answer explanations. Okay. And then that goes through all 9 sections. And then the open response. So you can see here, very comprehensive with the open response. So this is the online course. It comes with the digital study guide here. So you can download it. So if you buy the online course, you get everything and you get the 20% off. And those of you for Foundations of Reading, let me do that really quick. It's very similar. Foundations of, for those of you for teaching reading, I should say, it's very similar. It's modeled the same way. You can see here are all the categories. I've got an overview for each content category, then a quiz, then an explanation video for each quiz. And then towards the end, I have assessment. And then of course, constructed response videos where I go through the constructed response. So very similar for both. Okay. All right. So that's what we have. Gilson's in the chat if you need any help. Gilson, go ahead, and he's already done it. He's got some links there for you. Just go to KathleenJasper.com and Gilson will pop that link in the chat. All right, let's get started with the actual presentation. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to go over the test questions in context, and I'm going to show you exactly how to tackle those. All right, so let's get started with my presentation here. And I just want to make sure that we are here. Okay. And I'm just going to share my whole screen so that you guys can see it. All right. So this is our Foundations of Reading and Teaching Reading presentation. And I'm just going to go through a few of the questions on each study guide. And I'm going to tell you where they are on each study guide. I have them labeled so you can see this one is number 1 and this one is number 4. And at the top here, I have that it's the Foundations of Reading. So when you watch this back, you're going to get the replay. You can go ahead and see where I'm talking about here. You do not have to print the study guide right now. You'll be able to see all of this in your phone or wherever you're watching me. Okay. So let's have a look at number 1. I want to use this in context. Okay. So when I work on any reading exam, especially these 2 exams, the Praxis Teaching Reading and the Foundations of Reading, I always start with my answer choices first. Work backwards. This is what strategic test takers do. We do it on the SAT, the ACT, the Foundations of Reading, the Praxis Core, any test. You want to kind of look at it from different angles. Most people start at the top and they read all the way down and they get lost. They have to reread and all that stuff. Zero in on the answer choices. And I'm going to show you how to find good words and get rid of bad words. Okay, so let's have a look. A, encourage students to write phonetically by stretching out sounds they hear in words. All right, I like writing phonetically. That has to do with foundational skills. B, read predictable text and ask students to identify punctuation marks. All right, so predictable text is very good on this exam. Decodable text, predictable text, that's the kind of text we use when we are trying to show students like how to read. Like it's C, Matt sat on the chair to read his book. Matt sat, I don't know, just predictable stuff. Matt shared his bat with his friend, these types of words that are predictable and similar. But the problem with this is identifying punctuation marks. What does that do? That doesn't seem like a very good answer. So I don't love B. I'm just going to put a little X by it. C, show students how to hold a book and tract print left to right with their fingers. Okay, that's print concepts. We do that. We show students. We read from left to right, top to bottom. All right, I don't hate it. I like this phonetically so far as my number 1, but let's just leave C. D, ask students to identify uppercase letters from a set of magnetic letters. All right, identify. Now, identify is not a bad word. However, it's on the lower level of skills, meaning that in the Bloom's taxonomy, and I'll just do a little Bloom's here for you so you can see it. The Bloom's hierarchy, identify is down here. Now, we do need to learn to identify things. That's the start of something. But identifying punctuation marks and identifying uppercase letters, that doesn't feel like a really worthwhile thing. So I'm going to cross off those 2. It could be the answer, but I don't love them. All right, let's read the question. Which of the following activities best integrates concepts of print and the alphabetic principle for an emerging reader? Okay, concepts of print and the alphabetic principle. Now, C is just concepts of print. Reading from left to right and up to down, notice that we didn't talk about any letters. We didn't talk about any sounds in letters. We are only showing you concepts of print, like what happens in the book, right? Very important, but it's not part of the alphabetic principle. A is better because it's concepts of print by stretching out the sounds they hear in words because you're actually writing phonetically. And when we write phonetically, it's when we write the way things sound. So if I write, for example, I'm going to put it down here. She was at the beach, right? Notice that was and beach are kind of phonetically spelled, right? These are very important skills that a student is having, even though it's incorrect. This shows that, oh, you can't see beach. Sorry, let me move this over a little bit. It's behind my head. Let me move this over a little bit for you so you have an idea. The beach, okay? So it's incorrect. However, the student is listening to the sounds. The student has the understanding of the sounds. So this is actually very good. And by asking them to stretch out the sounds they hear in words, That's also concepts of print as well. So A is the best answer here because it includes the alphabetic principle. C only includes concepts of print. So notice it's kind of nuanced. This test is pretty tough because there are some nuances here that you have to know. But notice that by getting rid of some of these nonsense identifying punctuation and identifying uppercase letters, I increased my chance 50-50, right? And spelling phonetically and sounds and words, that all goes with the alphabetic principle as well. So, if you've got a basic understanding and you've read the study guide, you probably could get number 1 correct. So I'm trying to show you in context how this all works. All right, now we are working on number 3 in the Foundations of Reading Free Study Guide. Okay, so let's have a look at the answer choices really quick. Focus on teaching the student high-frequency sight words that include AU and GHT. Okay, high-frequency sight words. The focus, though, I'm not sure. Let's see. B, use phonemic blending activities to help students pronounce words like caught. All right. C, teach students to guess unfamiliar words. Absolutely not. Guessing is not the answer. So we're going to cross that off as a bad word. And D, provide explicit instruction on diphthongs and trigraphs and apply these patterns in words. Ooh, explicit instruction. And then we have specifics, diphthongs and trigraphs. Those are specific phonics skills or phonics concepts. And we have those all in the books. Those of you who already have my book, let me know. I'm sure you've seen the chart on diphthongs and trigraphs and all that stuff. It's confusing when you're not a reading teacher at first, but then you'll be able to identify them no problem once you understand them. But remember, for teaching reading and for foundations of reading, explicit, systematic, and recursive instruction are all good words. Explicit instruction means that we are not just hoping students pick up these skills while we teach reading. All right. We want to really teach these skills in isolation. We teach phonemic and phonological awareness in isolation. We teach phonics in isolation. We model it. We show them. We don't just read a sentence and hope they pick it up. We actually stop and talk about the decoding of words and the sounds and words and all of that. Okay. Systematic means that we go in a pattern based on a student progression. So students learn this skill, then they learn this skill, then they learn this skill. It's a continuum. And then recursive instruction means sometimes I have to go back to go forward. All right. Sometimes I have to go back and fix up some of these basic skills in order to have the skills I need to move forward. All right. So very, very important there. So I like D the best. Let's have a look at the question. A second grade student is decoding the word caught and struggles with vowel teams like AU and consonant trigraphs like GHT. What is the most appropriate instructional strategy to address these challenges? Now, you might say A is it because we have AU and GHT, but we have this high frequency sight words. Caught is not necessarily a high frequency word. It doesn't, it's more of I would call this more of a tier 2 word. It could be a tier 1 word. It could be considered high frequency, but just teaching high frequency words here is not what we're talking about because we have these vowel teams. Vowel teams and trigraphs are difficult. Now, in D, you might say, well, it says diphthongs, not vowel teams. Well, diphthongs are vowel teams. Diphthongs work together like in oil, and, coin and things like that. So, and caught, AU is often a diphthong because it doesn't make one sound. It makes an interesting sound, as in oi, ah. Notice it starts from the top and then moves to like a different sound. That's a diphthong. As in oi, cow, ow, ow. Do you see how it makes an interesting sound? They are vowel teams because it's 2 vowels working together. Remember, if it's a W or a Y with a vowel, it's considered a vowel team. These are working together to make a sound, but they don't make just one sound like you would in pie. Notice in pie, the IE makes the I sound, just one sound, but in oi, it makes a different sound. So that's a diphthong. So D is going to be the best answer here. Again, very nuanced. All right, let's try another one from Foundations. Those of you here for teaching reading, please pay attention to these as well. These are the same types of questions you're going to get. I'm going to jump to the teaching reading study guide in a second. I'm starting with Foundations, but I'm going to be on your study guide in a second, but these are still very important. All right. Number 4, let's go ahead and look at the answer choices. A, inflectional morphemes change the word's meaning, while derivational morphemes change the word's parts of speech. Okay. Now, I want to talk to you about the structure of this question. Think like a test maker. You'll see this sometimes on exams where the beginning, right here we have inflectional morphemes change the word's meaning. Inflectional morphemes indicate grammatical relationships. Inflectional morphemes apply only to verbs. Inflectional morphemes occur at the beginning of the word. Okay, now you have to know inflectional morphemes in order to know this. So let's talk about that. Inflectional morphemes do not change the word's meaning or part of speech. For example, in the word jump, pardon my handwriting, you guys. I've been typing more than I've been writing lately, so it's not great. Let me rewrite that. For my elementary teachers, you all have such beautiful handwriting. I'm a high school teacher. I have terrible handwriting. Sorry. You guys would have it like perfect, I know, with like the U proper and all that, but just bear with me here. So jump, right? An inflectional morpheme might be jumps. Jump has not changed the definition, right? It has not changed the meaning. It's still a verb. It just happens to be present tense. He jumps, she jumps. Or jumping, again, I apologize for my terrible handwriting. Jumping, ing, is a morpheme that doesn't change the word's meaning or part of speech. It's still a verb, right? It changes the tense. Jumped, ed, is a morpheme that changes the tense, but doesn't change the fact that it's a verb. It's a past tense verb here, but it's still a verb. And jump is like to jump up in the air. I don't know what the exact definition of jump is, but to rise in the air, I guess. All right. So that's an inflectional morpheme. A morpheme is a piece of a word. It's a unit of meaning in a word. So unlike a phoneme is sounds in words, a morpheme is a piece of meaning in a word. And they're attached to words. So prefixes, suffixes, and they all have different meanings. Now, inflectional does not change the word's meaning. So A is out. Okay. Derivational morphemes are those that change the meaning and or change the part of speech. For example, I'll use it up here in the top left. Happy. Okay. We have happy. You might not be able to see that now that I'm trying to get it the best way here. You know what? Let's just take these off here so you can see it. Okay. Happy. We have the word happy. Now, if I go to happiness, ness is a derivational morpheme. Why? Because I just went from happy, which is an adjective, to happiness, which is a noun. That changes the part of speech. Or if I went to unhappy, un is a derivational morpheme. It changes happy, which means like content or excited or whatever, to unhappy, which is not happy, right? The opposite. So that's a derivational morpheme. The way I like to remember it is that derivational derails. I always make these weird things like associations. I'm sure you guys have your own as well. But derivational derails the word, changes this part of speech or changes its meaning. Okay. So let's have a look at B. Inflectional morphemes indicate grammatical relationships, okay? While derivational morphemes create new words or change the word's parts of speech. So B looks like it's it. Let's discredit C and D. Inflectional morphemes apply only to verbs. No. You could have inflectional morphemes added to anything. And derivational morphemes apply to all parts of speech. I mean, sure, but the first part of this is not true. D, inflectional morphemes occur at the beginning of words, not always. And derivational morphemes occur at the end. No, derivational right here, unhappy. Okay. Irresponsible. That happens in the beginning. So that's out. Also, something to think about, words like only, never, always, we call that strong language in testing, and it's typically not the correct answer. Okay. All right. So B is the best answer here. You have to have a couple things here. You have to totally understand the difference between inflectional morphemes and derivational morphemes. And you have to think like a test maker and discredit or cross out any of these that don't fit. All right. One more from the foundation. Two more, I think. Two more from the foundations of reading. All right. Here we go. This is number 5 in your free study guide. Okay. Let's look at the answer choices. Use phoneme grapheme mapping to improve word recognition. Okay. I like that. That has to do with orthographic sort of understanding. Orthographic memory is storing phoneme graphing information in your mind so that you can recall words easy. B, pre-teaching background knowledge. Okay, I like that. Pre-teaching background knowledge helps with schema. So it definitely helps with comprehension and vocab. All right, let's keep going. Encouraging silent reading to develop prosody. No. Here's the deal. Silent sustained reading is very, very important. I used it in my classroom, even as a science teacher. But we have to model that. If you have students doing silent sustained reading, you should be in the front of the room doing silent sustained reading as well. If you go to your desk and start putting in grades and like doing all your stuff, your kids aren't going to do it. You have to model the behavior that you want them to do. So if you're having trouble getting kids to read silently and independently in your classroom, like let's say you have 10 minutes of silent reading or 20 minutes of silent reading, bring your book to school with you and you sit in the front of the room. I used to put my chair right in the front of the room, get your book out and read. And they will do what you do. On this test, silent reading is typically the wrong answer because it's usually attached to students who are struggling. And if they're struggling in any skill, having them read silently is not going to help them. All right. So C is out just for that reason. But I love silent sustained reading. It's a great practice in the classroom. Just do it correctly. Make sure you're modeling that skill. D, model fluent reading and practice phrase cued reading. Okay, modeling. Model. I just told you if you want your kids to read silently, going to your desk and putting in grades is not going to do it, but modeling the behavior will. Modeling is so important when it comes to reading instruction, especially in fluency. Those of you who have had really amazing kindergarten teachers and first grade teachers who read stories to you, and you know how they have like the best inflection in their voice. My mother was a kindergarten teacher. That woman can read a story like you wouldn't believe. And you know, that's what you want. You want to model the pausing at commas, the stopping at periods, the inflection in your voice when you get to an exclamation point or a question mark. And phrase cued reading is all about prosody because you take little phrases out and you read it phrase by phrase. This has got all the good words for fluency. Let's see what the question says here. A teacher observes a student reads fluently, but without appropriate expression when encountering academic texts with complex sentence structures. What strategy would best to support this? Right here, model it, show the student. Also, phrase cued reading would be to take out phrases. So these tough academic texts could be chunked out. It's kind of like chunking the text. Phoneme grapheme mapping is too low of a skill. I like this skill or this approach, but this is not the appropriate approach. So I can cross that out. Pre-teaching background knowledge, that is helpful with academic texts. So I could see that being like a distractor here. They want you to do that. But the thing is it's talking about appropriate expression and complex sentence structures. If this was more of a comprehension where you're getting caught up on like some complex concepts rather than the actual sentence structures, I would say perhaps background knowledge is the answer. But modeling fluent reading is going to help you with the prosody, the appropriate expression, and all of that. D is the best answer. All right, and this is the last one for the Foundations of Reading study guide, the free study guide that you have. This is number 10. All right, so let's go ahead and read the answer sheet. Have students practice reading aloud in class? Typically, no. Do we read aloud in class? Yes. I have a lot of strategies for this to help your students read aloud, which is take volunteers before you start reading so that you don't have to go, okay, who's next? Who wants to read next, guys? Anyone? Come on, guys, somebody volunteer. Nope. At the beginning of class, I take out a sticky note and I say, all right, we're going to be reading aloud today. Who wants to read aloud? 3 or 4 kids raise their hand, and then I can randomly call on them because they are prepared. I do not randomly call on students who do not want to read aloud because it's anxiety inducing. Let me know in the chat if you were one of those kids who used to read ahead, because we used to do round robin reading, bad practice now, where this kid would read the first paragraph, this kid would read the second, on down the rows, and you would count how many people were in front of you, and then you would memorize the part you were supposed to read, and then when it got to you, you realize you memorized the wrong part, and now you got to read aloud, and now you're all flustered and sweating and all of that. We don't want to do that to kids, so I like to take volunteers before reading aloud. Typically, reading aloud to the class is not the best answer. B, read aloud to students so they can hear fluency. Okay, that's modeling. I like it. C, reference student data to determine what skills students are lacking. This one is the best all day. Referencing student data and figuring out what they're lacking, that's data-driven instruction. That's on the good words list. D, ask the reading teacher for a list of students who struggle with reading. Asking somebody else, let's see what the question says. How can a content area teacher enhance students' experiences with content area text? All right, so a content area teacher is typically like a social studies teacher or a science teacher. And we want to help those teachers. Some of you might be content area teachers trying to get certified in reading so you can help your students. D, I like if because I was a reading teacher in high school. If the high school social studies teacher came to me and said, hey, can I get a list of all your kids who are struggling so I can help them? I would be like, yes, you may. Here, thank you for your support, and that would be amazing, but that's not the correct answer here. Referencing student data is what we want content area teachers to do, and then determine what skills they're lacking so they can implement some content area practices, because social studies and science is such an opportunity to read and such an opportunity to help students get better at reading. But if somebody, D is great. If I would do the data collection for the teacher, I'd be like, here's all the data. Here it is all spelled out. Here's each student's name. Here's their score. Please help me in your class. But in this case, D is not the correct answer. C is. Okay. All right. Before we go to the next part, I'm going to just go to here and just see if we have any questions. Okay. Looks like Gilson's answering a lot of questions. In Louisiana, I took all the 5,000 series. However, a new program is now saying I need to take the 5205. Also, however, heard we can take the 7002. Okay, those of you who are here for teaching reading because you're in Louisiana and they switched to the new test, 7002 or 5205, they're the same test. Look at the specs. They're identical. And what it tells me is, because I know the testing industry pretty well, they took the teaching reading test and put it in the front of the elementary education. They basically took out the language arts and reading section, the old one, and they put in the teaching reading. So either one you take is fine. Here's the deal. The 5205 has a constructed response. The 7002 does not. If you have a choice, you may want to skip the constructed response. That's up to you. So either one, they're both the same test, same specs, same everything, except the 7002, no constructed response. Just a little tidbit there. I want to add, I'm getting certified in pre-K through third elementary. Okay, Dana, good. Thank you for this information. Awesome, Dana. I'm glad you like it. Okay, yes, or didn't listen to anything else. Why do you think tests change so much? Okay, Nathan, thank you for saying, why do you think tests change so much? Okay, there's a couple things that I want to go over really quickly. This is all about test administration. I just did a video on this and I just did a blog on this, and we will link it up in the email that goes out after this. The tests don't really change unless the numbers change. So for example, if you go in and take the Foundations of Reading test, and you get a set of questions, and let's say you're not successful and you have to go back in and take it, okay, 30 days or 31 days, you have to go in and take it. And you get a different test. You don't get any of the same questions, or you get some of the same questions, but you don't get all the same questions. That doesn't mean the test has changed. It just means you got a different form of the exam. They don't give the same form to everybody over and over. Think about this. If you gave a test, high school teachers know this. If you gave a science test in first period, same test second period, same test third period, by lunch, everybody's getting 100 because they all went, hey, guess what? This is what I got. That's what people do. So to keep the test secure, you're going to get a different form. Now, in the case of, I think it was Dana who was asking about the 7002. Sorry, I'm blanking on your name. Sometimes, and the same thing with the 190 versus the 090, okay? The foundations of reading used to be 090, and then it went to 190. These are small changes. And what they do is if reading standards change, and this happens every couple of years, they will update the exam to reflect the new standards, or some best practices have come to light and they want to make sure that those are included in the exam. That's why they do that. It's important to update the test. I mean, some tests have not been updated in a really long time. Others, like reading instruction, new research emerges, new standards are written, and the test has to reflect that. And that's why they do that. For the 190, this is also called the 890, I think in North Carolina. Let me know, North Carolina. I think it's called the 890 in your state. It's the same exam. Sometimes they'll change the number just because they changed like a couple of things. With the 7002 versus the 5002, that was a total overhaul. But they didn't necessarily write a whole new test. They just took an old teaching reading test that works really well to assess reading teachers' ability to teach reading, and they put it in the front of a new test. So that's how that works. I have a whole video on it, and I'll link it up for you. Make sure you check your email after this. I explain everything about item banks, how they do everything, so that you kind of know, hey, this is why. It's not a secret either. They're very transparent. There are documents that they publish about all of this. Lily, will you go over how to write for words in the constructed response? Yes, I'm going over the constructed response in just a second. 890 in Connecticut. That's right. Sorry. 190 in North Carolina, 890 in Connecticut. And it's the same. If you look at the specs, it's totally the same. In Louisiana, we have a choice to take 5205 or 7001. The 7001 is the whole elementary ed. I think you mean, Glenda, the 7002. And like I told Dana, the 7002 is the teaching reading without the constructed response. So if you have the choice, I might go 7002. And this is what happens when the tests are new too. The pass rates are higher on a brand new exam because they haven't made the cutoff yet. So a lot of times, even if you don't do so well and it's a brand new exam like the 7002, you might get in. So I might take the 7002. But it's up to you. Okay. The cut score is what the score, like, I don't know, like for, let's see, North Carolina, 190, you guys have a score you have to meet. It's not a scale. It's not a scale that moves up and down based on how many people take it. There is an actual, by your state, there is a score, 153 or a 209, depending on what state you're in. That is what you have to score in order to pass. All right. And that's given by your state, and you have to look up your state to figure that out. Okay. Colorado, I am taking the Science of Teaching Reading online requirement for reading paraprofessionals. Will this course help? Yes, they're all the same. Science of Teaching Reading. This is the Science of Teaching Reading, Foundations of Reading. It's all the same. Okay. All right. Yes, Massachusetts is 190, North Carolina is 190, Connecticut is 890. It's all the same. They call it MTEL. They call it all this stuff. It's written by Pearson. And if you look at the specs, they're all the same. They want you proficient in the foundations of reading, and then more advanced skills, comprehension and vocabulary, and an open response. All right, let's do a few more. Let's just do a couple of teaching reading ones. Let me go here. And so that we can then get into the constructed response. All right. This is from your Praxis Teaching Reading Free Study Guide. And this is number 2. Okay. So let's look at the answer choices: identifying the beginning sounds in words, clapping syllables, identifying the ending sounds in words, deleting sounds in words. Okay. Here's one way to think about tests and to think like a test maker. First of all, this knot is standing out to me. Notice I have sounds, and sounds. 3 out of the 4 are similar. Now, this is a not question. Which of the following would not be a systematic instructional strategy? So we're looking for the one that's not like the others, right? So right away, even if I don't know anything, think like a test maker. Sounds, sounds, sounds. Which one is not like the others? B. That is a strategy in test taking. It's also a strategy in test making, because they do this a lot. We're looking at phonemic awareness. Now, remember, let's do a quick recap on what phonemic awareness is. Phonemic awareness has to do with sounds only, where we break up sounds in words. For example, in the word track, and I'm writing it here for you because I'm trying to explain it to you. But in phonemic awareness class, in your classes, you would not write. It's all done by listening and speaking. We do not write the word. We're only dealing with the sounds and words. So if I said, say the word track, and you said track, and I said, break up the word track by individual sounds, and you went t, a, k. 4 sounds. That's phonemic awareness. Phonological awareness is a little easier, where we might break the word up by bigger sounds. So, tur, which is onset, ak, which is rhyme. Tur, ak, 2 sounds. That's phonological awareness. And syllables is also phonological awareness, like rabbit. If I said break up the word rabbit by syllables, you might go rabbit, right? Bigger sounds, bigger chunks of words. Phonemic awareness is more nuanced, individual sounds and words. Well, we have identifying beginning sounds, identifying ending sounds, deleting sounds and words. This is phonemic awareness. This is phonemic awareness. This is phonemic awareness. The only one that's phonological awareness is B, and it's asking you which one is not systematic for phonemic awareness. B is the answer. Again, very nuanced. You have to understand what's going on in the study guide. That's why taking practice tests over and over again is not going to help you. You have to read the study guide. Please read the study guide or go through all my videos on the online course. All right, let's have a look at answer choices. Silent letters, R-controlled vowels, blending along vowel sounds, and common vowel combinations. Okay, those are just skills. I can't do anything, but it lets me know. I'm going to have to figure out what skills students are doing. Students have mastered consonant sounds and short vowel sounds. Which of the following would be the most appropriate next step in the teaching sequence? Okay, this is where you have to understand the progression of skills or the continuum. This happens to be phonics because we're talking about, letter sound correspondence here. And this is acquired systematically. First, they start with consonant sounds. So like k and t. Then we might add a short vowel sound like we've done here. K, a, t, cat. Okay. Now where do we jump? Do we jump to silent letters? Do we jump to this like make, silent E, long A, maybe? Or no? I don't know. Those are kind of complex, right? Our controlled vowel sounds are things like letter. Little bit advanced, not sure. What about long vowel sounds with consonants? We were at short vowel sounds with consonants. Now we're going to probably go with long vowel sounds with consonants. And then vowel combinations, those are vowel teams, A, U, I, E, O, A, right? Those are kind of EA. Those are kind of advanced. So C is the best answer. Now this one's a little obvious. If you understand phonics, you would go from short vowel to long vowel sounds. But again, you have to understand the continuum. Let's look at number 6, Praxis teaching reading. All right. Reading and writing, speaking and listening, listening and reading, speaking and writing. All right, let's go here. A teacher wants to work on students' expressive vocabulary. What would be the most effective? All right, well, expressive is speaking and listening. Or no, I'm sorry, it is not listening. Speaking and writing. This is where it gets a little. Speaking and writing. Because when you express yourself, you speak and you write. Receptive vocabulary is to receive, and that's going to be reading and listening. So anything with reading or listening is out. A and C and B. The best one here is going to be D, speaking and writing, because that's expressive. You're using your expressive vocabulary. Receptive vocabulary is when you're taking the vocabulary in. Let's have a look at number 8 for Praxis teaching reading. Okay. This is a short one, so I'll read the question first. If a student is reading with automaticity, all right. A, reading through the text, only stopping at words he or she needs to decode. Well, that's not automaticity. Automatic reading is boom, boom, boom. We're cooking, fluent. We're moving fast. Reading with inflection and expression, that's prosody, not automaticity. Reading effortlessly through the text at greater than 95% accuracy. Yes, that's it. D, reading through the text using sight words. No, this is the key here. 95% accuracy means that the student is at the independent reading stage. If it is less than or equal to 95%, it should be maybe less than or equal to 94%-ish. They're at the instructional level. And you might think, wow, that's like a lot of words correct on a page. Yeah, it is, but it's still lots of mistakes and it chops up the reading. And then anything less than 90 is frustration level. So if we're at if we're reading with automaticity, we're here. So C is the best answer. One more, number 10 for teaching reading. This one has long answer choices. I love to work backwards on these. The teacher should have the student focus on spelling because spelling is phonics, and phonics is a necessary part of the comprehension process. Yeah, it is, although you're taking a jump from phonics to comprehension, but I don't hate A. Let's look at B. The teacher should have the student take a diagnostic test and then have the reading coach work with the student. No. Farming it out to the reading coach, farming it out to the parents, farming it out to somebody else is typically not the correct answer. Okay. I like using diagnostic tests. That's an assessment piece. I like grabbing the data, but I don't like farming the thing out. Okay. C, the teacher should use a running record, okay, to record miscues a student demonstrates during 1 minute of reading. All right, we've got miscues, but no miscue analysis. I don't know. I don't love C either, but B, I really don't like. D, the teacher should focus on fluency and automaticity strategies for this student because proper fluency and automaticity will reduce the cognitive demand needed for decoding, leaving more cognitive space for comprehension. Yes, yes, yes. All right, why do we work on fluency? Because the more automatic a student is cooking through the text, the less brain power the student is using and can save that cognitive energy for understanding the text. If they're stopping at every word to sound it out, and I'm sure you've seen students do this, it's like, it's so exhausting to even watch them do it. They have nothing left for the comprehension. So we need fluency so they're moving through that text automatically so they have the cognitive endurance to use their brain on the vocab, on the comprehension, on like all the analysis and evaluative skills we need them to have. Let's read the question just to make sure. A student is struggling during reading. The student often stops when encountering high frequency words and tries to decode them. This interrupts the reading and makes it difficult for a student to understand the meaning of the text. Which of the following interventions? Well, fluency and automaticity strategies are going to help this kid. Repeated reading, phrase cued reading, anything that'll get this kid in the automatic stage. D. All right. Now, I want to go to the writing. Let me just hop over really quickly and make sure nobody has any questions here. Are there materials to define different phonological words and what short vowel sounds are and long vowel sounds are? Renee, in my book, I have a whole section on that. And also I have a chart that lays out like all the phonics skills, short, long, diphthongs, schwa sound, oh God, what are all, vowel teams, silent letters, trigraphs, digraphs. They're all in a chart in both books under the phonics section. And I also go over them in my videos. Also, will we have access to this video when you are done? Yeah, I'm going to send it to you in an email so you can watch it on demand. Yes, absolutely. And if you're watching it on social, it's just going to be there for you to click. Okay. How similar are these questions to the actual questions? So I get that a lot, Melinda. I don't know what questions you're going to get on test day. I have studied the structure, the language, everything in order to give you the best chance. However, if you're looking for identical test questions, that's going to be really hard. I know a lot of people share them on Quizlet and stuff like that, but you don't know what test you're going to get. And that's why I focus so much on the skills and understanding what's going on, because then no matter how it's asked, you can navigate it. That's why I talk about working backwards. That's why I talk about good words and bad words. And it'll help you understand how to discern. I don't know what test you're going to get. We're not supposed to know what test you're going to get. But there are lots of practice test questions in here. However, I really want you to focus on the content and the skills. That way, it doesn't matter what you're asked, you are able to answer it because you have an open response that you have to write. And you have to know the information in this book and pull from that in order to do well on the open response. Jen, I studied with Kathleen for the elementary Praxis and I passed easily. Awesome. And that's because, Jen, not because you memorized test questions, but because you understood what was up. Now, some tests like social studies exams and like science, the elementary science, that's a lot of memorization because it's just like concept driven. But for this test, it's all about how you teach reading. Okay. Is the fort better to study with for the 5205? This is aligned to the foundations of reading. This is aligned to the teaching reading. However, they are both very similar exams. So if you already bought this or you already bought this, that's fine. They are two different books. You will get different stuff in this one. There's some overlap. So don't be like, oh, it's the same book. It's not. The fort is bigger. You know, I wrote this one a little while ago. This is my number one bestseller, The Teaching Reading. So many people have used this book to pass the foundations of reading too. A lot of people were using this. But this is the newest. It just depends on what you want to do. Both will get you there. But, you know, I always say, get the book that's aligned to your test because I've sectioned it out the way your test is. Okay. Do you recommend studying both the 5205 and the fort for the foundations? No, if you have not purchased anything yet, Devin, just get the foundations of reading. You don't need to get both. Save your money, but really understand the concepts in there. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about, I ordered the book from Amazon to be delivered tomorrow. So excited. Oh, I'm so excited, Laura. Oh, listen, you guys, also, can you leave a non-biased review? I'm not going to tell you how to review my stuff, but if you wouldn't mind, I know it's kind of a pain, but we live off of reviews. And if you wouldn't mind, once you get in there and you look at it and you have an opinion about it, either way, if you wouldn't mind just going and reviewing the book for me physically on Amazon, that would be great. And if you bought it from my website, it's the same book. So you can also review it on Amazon. All right. Just took the Education of Young Children 5024 and using your thinking like a test maker helped me so much. Yes, Brianne. So you took the 5024 early childhood. Good. And she used my think backwards and thinking like a test maker. That's my thing. I trademarked that. Think like a test maker. It's so important. So, okay. Let me go to the writing now. Okay. Let me just say a couple things about the writing. First of all, I want you in each section of the book, whether it's this book or this book, to find some strategies that you are good at sort of explaining. For example, let's say we're talking about phonemic and phonological awareness. I'm lumping them together. They are different skills, but a lot of times they'll lump them together on the essay. Okay. So let's just say it's a question about phonemic awareness. All right. You may, and you're getting an essay question, a constructed response. It's something about phonemic awareness. I want you to have some phonemic awareness strategies. So for example, segmenting words, identifying beginning and ending sounds, or deletion, substitution. Those are all addressed in the book. Find just one or two that you could pull from. If it's phonological awareness, maybe syllable, breaking the word up by syllable, or I always do onset and rhyme because that's like my go-to, okay? For phonics, you need to be able to talk about, decoding. And you don't have to get super specific. Like I would have them decode vowel teams by this and that. You don't have to be super specific. You do have to give specific examples, but you can talk about decoding words or encoding, writing words. Find some phonics skills that you could do here. Fluency. My go-to with fluency is repeated reading. Repeated reading is an amazing fluency skill that will help you with automaticity. It'll help you with prosody. It'll help you with anything. Another one for comprehension, I love read aloud, think aloud, because it helps you with metacognition, which is essential for reading comprehension. I want you to have a strategy or maybe 2 or 3 strategies for each section that you could easily write to, because you are going to get a question on phonological and phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocab, comprehension. They're all fair game. Or writing, if you're the teaching reading. Writing workshops is great, Now here's a little trick. Modeling explicitly is a strategy. And that's just you as the teacher showing the student how to do it. But when you use the term model, explicit instruction, systematic instruction, now your score just went up because the grader's like, oh, this person knows what she's talking about. So it may just be you're going to model fluent reading. Or you might say the student could really benefit from modeling phonemic awareness. So the teacher might model how to segment the word properly. That's a strategy. And then in your justification of the strategy, which you always have to do, why will it work or why is it important? You would say modeling is a powerful skill that shows students how to do something explicitly. Research shows explicit instruction through modeling works. I mean, it's true. So you want to pull from that. If you're stuck, go with modeling on anything. Modeling anything works. Okay. So Melinda, can you give strategies for ELL students? There are some on the exam for ELLs. I have them in the book. They're at the end of each section in this book. Modeling for ELLs. One of the things for ELLs you want to talk about, cognates. Cognates. That's typically the number one thing, finding similarities between the home language and English. That's going to help you. So remember, cognates, also using pictures, visuals to go with vocab helps as well. All right. So you can grab those two things as well. All right. Now let me show you how to apply this. So you've got you're thinking about it, you're reading the study guide and you're grabbing any of those strategies for each section so that when you get something, you're able to use it. So let's go to my presentation so I can do this for you. All right. So sorry it's so tiny, but this is what a scenario is going to look like here. Okay. All right. This could go for the foundations of reading or the teaching reading. Now, with the foundations of reading, you're always going to have to identify a strength, a need, and then a strategy, and then rationalize your strategy. Teaching reading is pretty much the same. Foundation, you see where the student is good, where the student needs help. What are you going to do about it? And why are you doing that? Justify it. All right. Here's what I want you to do. We want to start here. Again, working backwards. Start with the task. I've chosen a shorter scenario here only because it's on my screen and I don't want to have like a huge scenario. You might get like a whole paragraph. All right. And that might work. But we want to make sure that we are going with the task first. Okay. Let me just do something here. This should say fluency. Let me copy this. Reading fluency. It shouldn't be comprehension. Sorry, I need to fix that. Paste. All right, so we want to do fluency. This is a fluency one. So here we are with the task first, and we want to, we know what we need to do. We need to write 150 to 300 words. That's about 2 to 3 paragraphs. All right. And then we are going to identify a strength, identify a need. And look right here, it's telling me fluency in the question, in the task. So right away, I'm going to start thinking about my fluency strategy. I'm probably going to go straight to repeated reading. Okay. I'm going to go straight to maybe modeling. If you're someone who's like, I'm just going to go with modeling here, it's easiest for me. Either way, doesn't matter. Okay. So I'm going to identify a strength, a need, and then I'm going to go with repeated reading. And then of course, thinking in my mind, repeated reading helps students get automatic. It gives them practice. It gives them confidence. It helps them move through the text. You could just say research shows that repeating reading helps increase fluency, and it does. All right, let's go ahead and read what's going on here. Ms. Patel is monitoring her 2nd grade student Noah's reading fluency. She conducts a 1-minute oral reading fluency assessment. And we can see here, he read 85 words. That's at grade level, but he had 12 errors. That's a lot of errors for 85. Okay. Which means he only read 73 accurately, which is at an 85% accuracy, which is at the frustration level. Remember, anything below 90%. And the pace is just a 2 out of 4. So there's a lot going on here. This is one 85% errors. We know that, and so we just want to see, we also have here, he frequently self-corrects. Okay. So that's good. So that could be a strength. He self-corrects. He knows he's doing it wrong and he goes in and self-corrects it. Okay. But we're lacking a little bit in the automaticity. This could impact comprehension. So we want to fix that up. Okay. So right away, I already have the strength. He frequently self-corrects and he's reading, he's reading it. But he's low on his accuracy and his pace is low. And then I'm going to do repeated reading and I'm going to say why it's important. Now, I like to do 4 paragraphs for this. Why? Because I have 4 bullets here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if I do 4 paragraphs, it makes it easy on the grader to see what I'm doing, which when you make it easy on the grader, they're going to be happier with your thing. I don't know if you've ever noticed when you're grading a paper and a kid is just writing all this crazy stuff and you have to go look for the answer. It's really annoying. Don't do that to your people. Make it easy. All right. So in paragraph 1, I identify a strength. Noah demonstrates a significant strength in his reading fluency pace, as evident by his ability to read 85 words in 1 minute, which is appropriate for the grade level. He also frequently self-corrects, indicating he understands that he can identify correct words. So he knows he's messing up and he's fixing it. So that is a strength. That's really good, actually. All right. But, however, he often hesitates on words and phrases, even when he knows them. This indicates a lack of confidence while reading aloud. His overall accuracy is just an 85%. You could just say, however, his overall accuracy is just 85%, which is at the instructional level. And in addition, his pace is only a 2 out of 4. Now, if you wanted to attach this to here, you could. If you wanted to make it the first 2 bullets, 1 paragraph, you could. You could do the strength and then the weakness in 1 paragraph. Now, notice that we didn't start off with like an introductory and all this stuff. Just get to the point. You do not have time to be doing intros and outros and all this stuff or conclusions. Just tell the grader, Noah has a strength here. He self-corrects. However, he has a need in the area of accuracy. He's at the instructional level and his pacing is off. All right. So now we get into the strategy. What are we going to use? Noah would benefit from repeated reading. That's my go-to for fluency. Now I just explained what repeated reading is. You have to get specific here. The teacher can select a short passage or a decodable text at Noah's instructional reading level and have him read the same passage multiple times. So notice I say repeated reading, and then I sort of give you an example of what repeated reading is. That's specificity. You have to have specifics in there to get all the points that you need. Now I add this in just for good measure. The teacher can model fluent reading during the first reading by demonstrating appropriate pacing, expression, and accuracy. So during the first reading, the teacher reads it. Then Noah can practice reading the passage aloud, and then the teacher can provide guidance once he's done. Over several sessions, the teacher can track Noah's progress and his words correct per minute, noting improvements, which would help him feel confident. Hey, look, by the 3rd reading, you got almost all of them correct. And then the teacher can increase the complexity as he moves up. Okay? Now, there's a couple of strategies in there. I added modeling. You could just go with the teacher can model fluent reading and then explain how the teacher would do that. Noah could follow along as the teacher read at an appropriate pace with appropriate expression. And then they could talk about it. And then she could do it again, or he could do it again. Now I need to tell you why it's important. Why would I do this? This instructional strategy would be effective for Noah because repeated reading helps build automaticity by recognizing word quickly and accurately. By repeatedly encountering the same words and phrases, Noah will be more confident. So I have confidence. I have automaticity here. Modeling fluent reading provides Noah with clear examples of how fluent readings pace their words. Over time, repeated reading will help Noah improve his accuracy. Okay? So these are bigger paragraphs. You could also combine paragraph 3 and 4 together. You could talk about the strategy and then you could add why it's important. There is no how many paragraphs should this be, how many words. Well, it says 150 to 300 words. There is no paragraph delineation. It doesn't say how many paragraphs you should have. So you could do, 1 or 2 paragraphs as well. I like to do 4 because it sets it out and helps the grader read it. All right. Some people, and I've done this before too, they use headings, strength, need, strategy, rationale. You could do that too, whatever you want to do. Just remember, you need to be specific. You can't just say, oh, repeated reading. Okay, tell me what repeated reading is. Show me what repeated reading is. Notice that I said he has his overall accuracy is just 85%, which is at the instructional level. This shows that I have content knowledge. I know that 85% is the instructional level, which is covered in the study guide and the online course, because you didn't just practice tests and just do a bunch of practice tests over and over again. You know that 85% is the frustration level. I should say frustration level. Okay. So we know that we want to bump that up. All right. The repeated reading practice should be at the instructional level because the teacher is reading it with the student. Okay. All right. So let me go back to here and see if you guys have any questions. Okay. Let's go back. Is the 7002 similar to the 5002? No, they're very different. The 7002 is more like the teaching reading. The 5002 is an older elementary education language arts test. What about the multiple subject for grade 1 through 6? I'm not sure which one you're talking about. There are a ton, maybe 5001 or 7001. It looks like Gilson answered a lot of these. Let's go here. On the 5205, you can start with the, can you start with the constructed response questions and go back? I'm not sure, Jess. Somebody tell me if you can start with the constructed response questions first. I would be careful about that. I don't like jumping around too much. I would go from, I don't know. You could, if you feel more comfortable that way and it's allowed, perhaps. Where can I find out if my state will take the 7002 instead of the 5205? Okay, let me show you for my Praxis people and for my other people. You need to check with your state, but let me go to my thing here. Let me share this tab. Okay. Praxis by state. State requirements right here. You can go this way, or a very easy way is go under view score requirements. Grab your state, and I'm not sure where you are. Where were you? Sorry, tell me where you are. Who is asking about this? Tell me, the person who was asking about the score requirements, let me know where you are. But let me just show you sort of what is going on here. So let's say I want to figure out, let's go with Louisiana. All right. I'm going to do the 7001. Let's see if they're doing it. Yep, they are. So it means that either they've started it or they're about to start it. Okay. Now, if I want to see who has all of them, just clear out Louisiana, and you can see that DC, Idaho, Kansas, Louisiana, and Missouri are all taking the 7001, which means it's the elementary education. It's the same, except the 7002 here is teaching reading. All right. Let's go here. New Mexico can be an example. It's not in New Mexico. New Mexico is not taking the 7001 yet, but check with your state, please. There's 50 states and 50 different tests, and they all change, periodically. So please, Colorado, Jill, Colorado is not on there. Let's go back real quick. State requirements. Here we go. So go to Colorado. Click it here, go. Here are all the steps. Early childhood, elementary ed. You have to take the teaching reading, so you're in the right place. They do the bundle. This is basically the 5001 without the reading. I wonder if they're going to let you. That's crazy. They should just give you the 7001. Anyways, I have a lot of suggestions for states, but nobody listens to me. This is what you got to take. You have to take the 5901, which is elementary education, but it doesn't have a reading. It just has math, social science, and science. And then they're making you take the teaching reading. So you're in the right place. So we'll link that up in the email. So that will help you. All right. So listen, you guys, we are coming to the end. I'm so sorry about the first technical problems. That was my fault. I went into the wrong webinar. I was talking to myself for about 5 minutes. If you want more information, let me show you where to get some more free resources. Of course, we have the paid, and you're going to get a link and all that in the email. If you are in the social media, the links are there. But let me just show you where to go. Where are you? There we are. Okay. My website, KathleenJasper.com. Under free webinars, you can see that you will be able to watch this. It's register here. Once you register again, you just put in your email or and stuff. You'll get the replay on the thank you page. But if you're already signed up, you're going to get an email in about 20 minutes with everything. Next week, I'm doing the Praxis Principles of Learning and Teaching, the PLT. And then after that, I'm doing the special ed. We have recorded webinars. These are ones I've already done. So you can see here, I've got lesson planning webinars, secondary ELA, resumes, interviews, all of that. Now, speaking of that, if you are looking for, because many of you are beginning teachers and all of that, I have Teach a Survival course for new educators. I also have an interview course that is really awesome. This will help you with the teacher interview. I have interviewed thousands of teachers. I was an assistant principal. I sat on many panels, and I share with you everything I know about that in this interview series. People love it. A lot of people get the job. Now, if you're looking for free resources, first of all, my YouTube channel, that is not a good look there. My YouTube channel is full of free videos. So if you're trying to save some money, maybe you don't want to get the online course, but you want to get the book and you just want to use YouTube, you could do that. Go to my teaching reading. There's all different videos here. It's not as comprehensive as the online course, but you could piece together a bunch of these videos and maybe do it. I've got essay writing for you there, Praxis Core, math, anything, whatever you're working on, I have it there. Then, of course, I love TikTok, and I am on TikTok doing all kinds of shorter stuff. So if you like TikTok, which I love teaching on TikTok, it's so fun. Doing a lot of help for college students with APA and SAT, which has been fun because it's been a long time since I taught high school. So that's fun. But lots of stuff here on TikTok. Facebook. Let me go to Facebook. You know that we are always on Facebook. We've got all of our information here. And of course, I'm live there right now talking to you guys. And of course, my teach book here is on Amazon. And then what am I missing? I'm on LinkedIn also. I believe I'm there right now, but LinkedIn is so boring. I like TikTok. Do you have a video for PPR? Lily, come next week to the Principles of Learning and Teaching. The PPR and the PLT are like the same test. So it'll help you. Come next week. And if you can't attend live, sign up anyways because you'll get the replay. Okay, I need both of those. See you next week. Yes, Glenda, see you next week. Thank you so much for this information. Thank you for coming. I'm in Colorado. I took Praxis all subjects in 2021 and still need to take Praxis 5205 now. Yeah, that's okay. Take the 5205. You'll be fine. All right. Thank you for all this information. My pleasure. All right, guys, listen. You worked really hard today. Take a little break. If you need the study guide, make sure to use that offer code. When is special education? 2 weeks, not next weekend, the following weekend. We'll link up the webinars tab in the email so that you can just click it and sign up. Okay. Foundations of Reading, book and online course, Praxis teaching reading, book, online course, and audio course. You could also get the Foundations of Reading and the audio course for this. People like the audio courses. You can use them like a podcast. I haven't built an audio course yet for this. I will, but it'll be pretty much the same as this. So just if you want the audio course, get the teaching reading. We'll link everything up in the email. Thank you so much, you guys. I appreciate you. Being a reading teacher is so important. If you have any questions, just hit us up, info@KathleenJasper.com, and it will be our pleasure to help. And I hope you have an awesome weekend. Have a great day. Bye.